Hey guys! So some really exciting news. For the first time in a while, we're going to be meeting in person tonight at Alex's house. So at the end of the video, I'll tell you how to get the information you need to come and hang out with us. What we're talking about today is remembering to remain open to God to work in our lives no matter what circumstance we find ourselves in. Because we're being grown into our full potential and into the fullness of who God created us to be. And it's a process of realizing the fullness of what we're created to do. Let's look to David as a good example of this process of being grown into all of our potential. So David was anointed the next king of Israel by Samuel. And then David became a part of King Saul's staff as a harp player, and then as a bodyguard to King Saul. And then David faces Goliath. And then David is hunted by King Saul. And then David leads men into battles and lives on the run from Saul, who wants to kill him. And then David lives among the Philistines. And he sends money to nearby places in Israel in hopes that they'll accept him gladly as the next king of Israel. He wipes out people who are invading and plundering tribes of Israel and sets his people up to live in peace and prosperity, and then finally becomes king. Sometimes we don't understand why we're in the position we're in, or why we're facing the circumstance that we are. And like David, we may find ourselves in strange circumstances that don't seem to make sense to our future. But when we remain open to God and allow Him to work in us in all of our circumstances, we're being grown fully into who He intends us to be. So do you know who God says you are? Do you know who He's preparing you to be, what He's preparing you to do? This is something that is good to keep at the forefront of our minds. Because if we know who God says we are, we can act like who He says we are. And if we know what He's preparing us to do and who He's preparing us to be, we can act more and more into all that we're meant to be. And like David begins to act more and more like the king of Israel, even when he's living amongst the Philistines. So this is what we're going to talk more about tonight. Let's talk about who God says you are and what He's preparing you to do. So my phone number is in the information, in the details below this video. Just text me if you would like the information of where we're going to be, and if you'd like to come and hang with us and have fun and talk more on this topic. Love you guys. I hope to see you tonight.